Better everyone, long time no see. I saw you exactly 24 hours ago or so. If you caught the one with Dipcatcher yesterday, that was a great stream. I got finished clipping it this morning and I already put out 2 clips, I believe. There's some good ones on that if you're interested. Hex, PulseChain, crypto in general. I mean, there's a lot of just really good gems in there too. Whether you're interested in NFTs or not, there's NFT game has changed in some ways, apparently experimental as well. So do your own research and all that stuff too. Anyways, today, this is a stream I've set up a little bit ago, but I think could be very interesting to explore. So I think I've talked about on the show before, kind of your emotions flying by the handle color or flying by the candle colors, and just, hey, I'm really sad when the price is down. I'm really happy when the price is up. That kind of thing, I try to avoid as much as possible. And it's been hard the last couple of years or so. I mean, especially when you just see, what Hex did and then where it went from there and where it is now. And there's a lot of hope and a lot of optimism, you might say, as well. But dealing with these ups and downs, I mean, we're talking in the green room. Brent was mentioning some different, long-term investment stuff that he's going to talk about as well. But the kind of thing that, crypto is so different where, if you buy a house or whatever, you don't look at the price every day. But if you buy crypto, boy, you want to see what that price is. For some reason, you just want to know, hey, did I make money or lose money today? And it's kind of up to everyone to make their own choice. And, it's, again, everyone's responsible for their own, their own person and all that stuff. But it's, I think, getting in the habit of healthier habits and healthier ways of going about things and still being able to win without, pushing yourself to the limits in so many different directions. Hopefully we'll be able to bring out some experiences and talk about some of that stuff today. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I think we got a great panel to discuss these type of issues. So without further ado, to chat in just a moment. Welcome back to the show, Whitney Magic, a Wild SJ, and Brent Nally. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
Doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, man. You keep knocking out of the park. You, Whitney, and SJ. I don't think we've had a bad stream. I don't think so. It's been good. Whitney's. This is her second stream, so she's got some more time to have a bad one. But I'm not counting. I'm not shorting Whitney. I'm not shorting Whitney. Let's say that. Also, somebody mentioned Burr Bears. We have the original Burr Bear. He's here. And then we got, I forgot what we named this one. I did a whole stream naming them. I forgot. This one's, what was the name of this one? Somebody, MA in the stream, tell me if you remember his name. I totally forgot. I named them somewhere. Anyways, yes, two Burberry Bears in the bear market. They were acquired, and they're ready for the bull. These guys want number to go up. So that's who I got.
Here too.
You got a Burberry. Nice. Is it a Burberry bear or is it just a bear?
It's not a Burberry bear. It's a Make It Merriam bear. Okay. She crocheted this.
Okay.
Oh, I feel like these are emotional support babies.
It looks very huggable. Wow.
It was a very long, brutal bear market.
It was. Sometimes you just need a bear to hug.
You do. That's exactly right.
Let's kick it off too. Like, what I know. So who wants to? In the green room, we're kind of game planning here about like talking about different perspectives, experiences, and then just going some of the different techniques and stuff too. But who wants to kick us off on as far as just laying out the type of, I kind of set it up for people's emotions going by the candle color a lot of ways. Yeah, who wants to kick us off as far as anxiety, crypto, like dealing with the different experiences and stuff?
I could start off just real quick. I'll say a few things. I'll be very brief, and then we'll kick it to the ladies. So first of all, I love the memes from like dating back to like 2017, maybe even earlier. I just remember there, for Bitcoin crypto, it's like if you can't handle the 600% drop, you don't deserve the 1400% gain. And I think that, crypto is just the extreme of, investing as far as the roller coaster ride. And I've been an investor in more of just like technology, high growth stocks for about 15 years. I graduated college in 2007 and just immediately started investing when I got my first job and had enough money when I wasn't like a waiter or a bartender and just kind of barely making, payments on my lifestyle and stuff like that. And so I think that's a good way to think about it. And then also, Max, what I was kind of saying in the green room is I've been a fan of Warren Buffett for a long time. I'm talking way before crypto, just like reading his books. I have one of his books behind me called Snowball. It's a biography on him from like 2008. But I've watched a lot of YouTube on him many years ago. I don't watch much about like Warren Buffett anymore. But a few things to point out that I think are true and also important for this conversation that Warren Buffett has stated is, number one, that when you're buying something like a farm, you're not looking at the price of it. There is no price of it like fluctuating on a daily, hourly, minute basis. So you just can't look at that. And Warren Buffett thinks it's almost kind of like a bad thing, this environment that we're in nowadays with the internet and everything. And he's just talking more about like traditional stocks when the market's actually open, not right now because we're live streaming here on a Sunday. But with crypto, it's the ultimate. I remember Andres Antonopoulos back in like 2017 doing lectures about Bitcoin and how the kids, when they get older, they'll be like, what's a business day? What's business hours? What is that? It's just going to be, everything's going to be open all the time. We're not there yet. I do think that the world will eventually get to that once everything's fully automated and AI's advanced and everything. I think all markets will be on all the time. And there's great positives to that, obviously, but there's also some downsides. So I think today, my general advice is that know what you're buying and why you're buying it for anything in life, not just investments, like whether it's food or a car or whatever. Even just smaller things, like I said, like food, and then just stick to that. And just all you need to really ask yourself is, has anything changed? As far as my knowledge, my belief in why I bought this thing. If things have changed, new information has come out, you've learned new information, things have changed, then maybe it makes sense to actually sell that investment or whatever it is in this scenario. But if things haven't changed and the price has gone down, then why wouldn't you just go buy more of it if you have more money to buy? Because you should be that much more convinced that this asset or this thing, whatever it is, this is even true for me when I shop at the grocery market at I go to Costco. When things are on 30, 40% retail, I tell my wife, it is very difficult to make 30% in the market. With crypto, things are incredible, but just in general, hedge funds will literally kill to make 20% a year. That's incredible for them performance. So in any event, my point is, if something's 30% off at the store, my wife and I know that we like it at Costco, it's on rebate, we buy up a bunch of it, like literally maybe like 10 of those items, because I don't know when that's going to happen again, and I load up on it. Same thing, I think, is good advice with crypto. If you really believe in this and it's gone down from where you bought and gone down dramatically, buy back up. So that's how I do. And then as far as we haven't even got to anxiety, those are just more like pragmatic, practical things, the way that I see it. We could talk about anxiety stuff either, but I said I would only talk a little bit. So I'm going to end it there and kick it to the ladies.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little side tangent because as you were talking, there were a few things that were coming up. Personally, for myself, I just want to share like the real behind the humanness of me is I've been really noticing how like the highs, even like how we had this like over the past few weeks, like seeing 100+% go up. And for myself of like the euphoria, and then also like the other people that I've helped with onboarding as well, like noticing and feeling the emotions that come up for my own self on the high. And then specifically like the high is there, but specifically the downturn. And I find that's where I've kind of been in these past few weeks, is noticing like, okay, the dopamine has faded off and I'm feeling a little bit like gray and foggy. And so personally for myself, like I went down to the beach and just like took myself into nature and like took time for myself, because I was like, I need to ground back down. I need to take some time offline if I want to support myself. And then if I want to be able to help people going forward, like I need to take care of myself. And so I think I would just also love to open it up to you guys to see like, what do you guys do during that time? Because we do have emotions, like they're not going away, but what are the things that help bring you back in?
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, stay mute.
That button. Good thing you couldn't hear me stumbling all over my words just then anyways. So I love hearing that question, because that's something that I think people, it would seem to me that being in this space, being in the crypto space, a lot of us are prone to, or may have the tendency to have, to struggle with that more than others. And I guess that's for anyone that spends a lot of time online doing whatever it is they do, right? So for example, before crypto, many years before, there's a big gap here, but I was into gaming. So I was a pro gamer, played Halo for hours and hours on end, and spent a lot of time indoors in front of a television. And I don't know, there's definitely a difference between that kind of like playfulness, like there's a little bit of stress there, right? And then our finances, right? And having stress over what it is that our money is doing or not doing for us. And it's so important to remember for me, the number one, so to just short answer that question, get outside. Just do something to disconnect from the digital world and go put your feet on the earth. Go look up at the sky, go look out at a tree, go look at a cloud or the rain or whatever it is. You need to take your eyes physically off of a screen and put them somewhere else. And that's just good for your health, period. Right? Like, you know, it's good for your eyesight, it's good for your brain. So that's just the number one thing. And I've noticed myself struggling with that because especially in the last like month or so, the last week or so has been a lot better. But I had a moment where I was just working and I love what I do. So I wasn't feeling very anxious because I was, you know, just immersed in my work. And then of course, like when I'm playing in this community, I'm online as well, right? In terms of contacting people and, you know, like having a good time online, right? So I wasn't feeling stressful, but then all of a sudden I just realized, man, like I haven't seen the sun today. I have not like had a breath of fresh air outside this bus. Like I'll force myself to go to a coffee shop and work sometimes because if I don't do that, I'll tend to just kind of stay in my little space. And it's just, yeah. So long answer short, just do something to get out of that space where you're comfortable or uncomfortable, you know, whatever it is, even if you don't feel like it, that's when you need it the most. When you just don't feel like going outside and you are just so anxious and you're in your head and things are just, your reels are just spinning, that is the most important time to get outside. Like that, I think that's probably one of the easiest things that you can do, but sometimes it's the hardest for someone to just, you know, get up and pick themselves up off of where it is they are and go and walk outside their door.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of when you said that too is just meditation, and we've did streams and talked about that before. And I encourage anyone to search RHMax meditation. There's one or two really good ones, and it's I even said during the stream like is there any reason not to meditate? Like would the world be so much better if everyone, you know, took 10 minutes out of their day or whatever to do it however they want to do it? And I just can't find any downside like that. For one, just talking about touching sand, touching grass. Talked about that earlier in the tweet as well. Touching the moon one day, hex PulseChain to the moon. Hopefully, not financial advice. But I think so. Meditation, for one, just being able to get out of your own space, like literally and mentally, like just put yourself in an area that, yeah, you don't need to think about anything. I think that's super helpful. Shout out to Sam Harris and the Waking Up app again. I think that guy. I don't know. Have I listened to more hours of Sam Harris or Richard Hart? Probably Richard, but like. Sam he's getting up there since Richard hasn't streamed for a while. He's getting up there. Just him and I mean other people too. Naval Ravikant, a lot of good thinkers and people to help you just feel refreshed about life and like just thinking and not getting overwhelmed and stuff like that. And then the other thing, is just having the conviction, just being able to again, I know Brent's gonna talk more about this too, but being your investment thesis, like what is it? How are you like just because some FUD happens or something bad actually happens or something good happens, does it actually change your pure motivation for doing this? Your numbers you've already ran, the people around you, is everyone panicking and you're still holding flat because you believe in this thing or not? So I think that's what's special about our community. We have so many stat sites. We have so much data already. We have, you know, a track record of a founder who's done all these amazing things and has all these amazing plans and stuff too. Whatever you believe, whatever you're going by, whether it's your pure money maximalist or you've read Scivive and believe in a greater cause in that way, or you just love the community, you just want to hang out and you can't find anything better. Like whatever it is, being unshakable, I guess is why I'll describe like me in a lot of ways, not being able to be shaken by like just stuff that happens because you believe in the end goal, you believe in your thesis, all that stuff. It's not easy. It really isn't. When everything's going down and this, I keep thinking too, like in real life, I don't know if you guys experience this too. Let me know if you have, but like you tell people about crypto, maybe you told them about the RH products or not, and some of them just can't believe it. They just don't want to believe it. They don't think you're going to be successful. They've never dreamed of themselves being financially free, for example, and they're just not going to support you. You're not going to get any love, especially in a bear market, especially when they're pointing at charts saying, look, you're wrong, like that kind of thing. Being able to be strong in that it is tough. But no, I think if you believe in something enough, and it doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to be this just like you're just holding on no matter what because you have nothing else. It doesn't have to be that. It can actually be, hey, I've seen all the numbers, I've heard all the opinions, and I've made a decision, and I'm sticking with it, and that's it. And this is where I'm placing my bets, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Max, one thing that you said on that reminded me of like my 2017. I did a little Bitcoin crypto vlog series in the fourth quarter of 2017. And I was still working a full-time job at LinkedIn, Microsoft in San Francisco. And it's actually a particularly stressful year with work because of certain things that were out of my control that I won't get into. But I was at the same time, Bitcoin crypto was just skyrocketing at the time. And I think I understood it relatively well and why I thought it would continue to go up for quite a long time. And so I was just calling up friends, family members and telling them, and I was saying the same thing over and over again. And so I decided just to start my little YouTube Bitcoin crypto vlog series to just scale that and just send it to people. Like, here's a link to this vlog episode. And it worked from that perspective, but it was painful because I had to start like vlogging and things and I didn't know how to edit. And I was already like really, really strapped for time. But the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is it was a really great way to educate like some of my friends and family about like why I thought that it was a great investment for the long term. And I think they understood more my perspective from seeing it. But even with that, and even with crypto like going bananas like it did in like Q4 of 2017, most of my friends and family did not pull the trigger and actually buy like any. And so I think people are just very different and complex. I actually love studying people. There's over 8 billion people on the planet. There's over like 210 nation states, different cultures. I've traveled to like 45 countries and I've been able to see a little bit of things that are just very, very different. Like when I was in Indonesia in Bali in March of 2018, I kept asking some of the local people giving massage, people who drive me in like Uber, like, hey, where are you from? And they look at you like you're weird. They're literally from down the street. They don't even leave their island of Bali, much less it's not even in their perception of reality, of possibilities to even go to another island, much less another country, like leaving their country. So they are enslaved from their own perception of reality that's taught to them from the time that they're born. And so just like that as an example, so much of us are just enslaving ourselves through our own negative beliefs that are holding us back. And so in general, I would say that that's what so many people are like. And so if you want to get wealthy, you can't be like that. There's only a very small percentage of people on this planet that are actually like wealthy, that are actually out of the rat race, that have enough wealth, enough capital, enough money to be able to live the type of life that they want to live. At least, like, obviously there's levels to everything, but at least to the point where they like don't have a boss, don't have to be stressed about certain things too. So the funny thing is we're here to talk about anxiety and we can get to that soon, but actually the way out of anxiety in one way is through financial freedom. It's not every way out of anxiety. You'll have anxiety about all other sorts of things, but that so many people have anxiety based off money. So you need to also kind of remind yourself. So kind of going full circle with this now when it comes to whatever your investment is, we're talking about, PEX, Pulse right now, things going up and down. You need to say, hey, do I actually still believe in this? If I do, yes, great. Then if I have more money on the side, if it's gone down a lot, that might be a good buying opportunity. And that should quell your anxiety to a certain extent. If not, then maybe we can talk about some other options as well too. But just looking at it through that lens, I think is helpful.
Well, I want to. Go ahead, Whitney.
Okay, I wanted to like loop in because I had one thing that, as Brent, you're talking about like the enslavement of like what was coming up for me was thinking about like how enslaved we can be to our emotions and to our thoughts, and how it's like so reactive. And one thing I've been doing a lot recently has been taking, like, when an emotion comes up, particularly related to either business stuff or related to the market, I have been calling myself out lovingly to be like, oh, this emotion is here. This reactive response is here. Or like, I want to shut down, or I want to run, or I want to do these, like, I want to go more into technology. Like, I want to avoid something. And when that moment comes up of like confrontation, I'm like, that emotion is there because it's a signal, it's data. And I get an opportunity to say like, okay, like an inner mechanism within me has been loose and it has been revealed for me to dig a little bit more. And so when an emotion comes up, I ask myself a little bit more of like, okay, why are you here? What in the past has come up? Like, what old programming is there? And like, in particular, I find with investing, like I can, and I find this for others too, is like, we can, like, if you make a poor investment decision, like let's say you buy a high, like in the last pump, you're like, okay, I slid some money in. You're like, okay, I slid some in. And then you like leave with an icky feeling because things go down. You're like, I should have bought the low, not the high. I find if the emotion is not cleared and it's just like, oh, I did the thing and then I shame myself, then we can keep on going through this pattern with the next cycle. The next time there's a green, you slide money in rather than buying the low. And so I've been using my emotions as little information signals to be like, okay, they're here. And because they're here, I can now see them, ask myself about them, and then clear them so that I don't keep repeating this pattern.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's really good. And you also want to try and be as like emotionless as an investor as possible. Obviously, we all have emotions. What I mean by that is, like you were talking about there, Whitney, is like recognizing your emotions, not ignoring them, but recognizing them, but also trying to figure out like, why are you having that emotion? And is there anything that you can do to help like level it a little bit? And yeah, I would just go back with like the example you talked about, somebody like buying high and then, the price come down. I just go back to kind of what I said earlier. Like, if you still believe in this asset, whatever it is that you're investing in, and if you have money on the side, that would probably be a good time to at least consider buying more. And Warren Buffett like uses the example. He's probably been saying this for like many decades. I first heard this in like 2008. It's like, if you go to the grocery store, or even let's say you're shopping for clothes, and there's a clothing, just a shirt on the rack that you really like, but it's like $70. So you walk away and you come back a few weeks later and it's like 30% off. Like, if you like that shirt, you liked it 3 weeks ago, you like it now, you should like it like even more, since it's 30% off. And why not go ahead and buy it? You can't expect that it's going to like, it could keep going down, but somebody else could also buy that shirt. Maybe there's only one that's your size, that, you get my picture. So I think it's just really important that people think about these things. I don't know how many people watching this live stream, or in the future, if it's not live, have even thought about these things. So these are really important things to think about. I'm not saying I always have the right answers. I mean, I've been investing for a long time. I've been a complete genius many times and a complete moron. Of course, I'm joking. Like, I'm neither. It's all about like what the market does that makes you feel like a genius or a moron in the short term. But really, it's the long term that matters. And so it's very difficult to like get rich quick. We all love those stories. It's kind of happened to me in certain little pockets, certain times, but that's ignoring all of the hard work and saving and investing and sacrifice that I did to get to that point, to give myself that opportunity to get rich quick, So I think it's important to think about it from the proper perspective as well, too.
Yeah, I'd like to say a little thing real quick. It's a small shameless plug. I just linked a video of mine. When you were talking about like the cycles, right? And allowing those emotions to come up and recognizing them. I think that's a huge part of it, is that so often, and maybe, sometimes we've not given ourselves the time or the energy to just kind of sit with that emotion and look at it objectively, and to say, this, I'm the reactive part, right? It's so many people, I think, so often just kind of have this knee-jerk reaction to certain things because that's maybe what you're used to, or how you grew up, or the programming that was given to you. And it's so important to try and allow yourself the space to step back from yourself and say, this, you know, I'm experiencing this. Like, why am I experiencing this? Like, what is it really that's kind of triggering this emotion? And how can I, you know, maybe train myself differently, or what can I do differently that's going to allow me to maybe react better next time, or react in a different way, or do something different to get out of that cycle and to break that habit. The video I linked, I was having a bad day. I woke up and was very sad and it kind of came out of nowhere. And I was just feeling a lot of just kind of depressive feelings, which is rare for me. And sometimes I feel like I'm not the best person to speak on this because of that, because I've been very fortunate for nearly all my life to have a very positive, cheerful disposition, and to not have had to deal with a lot of stress or anxiety or depression, because I'm normally coming from a space of positivity. And I don't know, like, I look back and I'm like, man, I don't know if that was like a learned thing, or like what it was that affected me so that I've been so mentally strong. But you know, what I can say is that I do notice when I'm not, you know, feeling great. And in the past, I think I like kind of glazed over those feelings, and I would just be like, oh, you know, like nothing I can do about it, you know, yada yada. But there's always something you can do about it, and you ultimately you are the ruler of your destiny, and you are the one that is allowing that feeling to take space and energy, you know, in your existence. And then again, ultimately, you're the one that has the power to change that. So yeah, just a little info. And also, I mean, like, I've seen information from several people in this space that talk about different ways to break patterns and different things you can do. And, you know, Whitney's a great example of that. I love your tweets. Like, you know, I'm excited that you're coming out with more content. There's another guy, and I can't think of his handle right now, but it's like Purely Positive something. And he's also got a lot of that, you know, just encouragement for people to go outside and to, you know, do something different, and breathing, even just that's another simple thing to do. If you're feeling anxious, you're feeling stressed, whatever it is that you're feeling, stop and recognize your breath. How are you breathing? Is it short and shallow? Can you take time to, you know, breathe in for a count of 3, breathe out for a count of 5, and see what that does to your body, see what that does to your mind. So that's another very simple tactic or trick that you can, you know, change up something immediately to maybe get your mind in a different place or in a different zone and out of that anxious state.
And gratitude. I think gratitude is a great word too. If you're feeling anxious or down, depressed, whatever, just stop, close your eyes, whatever, write it down. If whatever, do both. Just think of things that you're grateful for and put it all into perspective, not only where you are on this planet right now with about 8 billion humans, but also the more you study history, the more you're like, man, we got it good. Just read like from the 1800s. I mean, people were dying of like easily treatable diseases at like age 24. That in the first world or second world, pretty much everywhere, for most places, unless you're in some horrible type of dictatorship environment, slave labor type thing, you're going to be able to be treated for stuff that people just used to die from all the time. So just remember that your health is number one, your time, you can't get that back. We've talked about that on. So money you can get back. So, you know, these are just digits on a screen, and you learn from it. You have to learn from this stuff and move forward. With everything that we've been talking about, it really is about learning, not making the same mistake twice, or at least over and over again. If you don't make the same mistake twice, you're going to do really good. You'll continue to make mistakes, but at some point you need to recognize that pattern recognition. And it's everything that we're talking about. It's your emotions. I mean, if you can't handle investing because of your emotions, then that's the first thing you need to work on, because you'll hate your life, even if like your net worth might be going up over time, because it's not going up as fast as you wanted or hoped it. And so you could still be like, I've heard of so many billionaires who are just miserable people, hate their life, and die of a heart attack at age 62. that's not what I'm in this for. So you're going to have to learn how to recognize your emotions and how to be emotionally intelligent and handle them, so that that reptilian brain isn't controlling you, that you're, as much as possible, trying to keep it in check and live your best life.
Yeah, I also feel like there was a comment that came in. Someone said about like, we're all going to be like wealthy in this room. And I think just reminding ourselves of that. So like anyone who's here, just like take a moment and remember, like, you are going to be wealthy, or at least you're going to be rich. Big money is in your future regardless. Like take a moment for that. Just breathe into that and just be like money is not going to be my problem. And also in this process of growing your money, you get to decide, are you going to take the path of riches or wealth? And that's a two different journey experience. And I find that that journey also, like, it's built in this process, because if you're going after riches, you may also just constantly be plugged in and not tending to your energy, and also not tending to like what you value in your life, what life you're creating beyond this, because you're still like, the money's going to be there. And guess what? You're still going to have these emotions. You're still going to have the like emotional scarring, or you're still going to want to enjoy your life and in different ways. And you can't just Band-Aid fix these moments to be like, I'm just chasing the money, and because it's all going to catch up to you. So I'm a big believer in, part of being an investor is we cannot get rid of our emotions. We are human first, and a beautiful gift of being human is our emotions. Not just for like the stress and the anxiety, but the other side of that spectrum is our excitement, is our enjoyment, is our euphoria, is our love. And so emotions are not evil, and our emotions are actually signals to be able to help us in this process become a better human and create more ease in our life. And so I've very much seen that for me, like one of the greatest gifts for crypto has been the gift that it's given to me to be more emotionally intelligent. All the information pops up. I feel something, I process it, I respond to that. I learn something new about myself. And therefore, when the wealth does come, then it helps me to be able to manage that new level of power that comes with it, because money is a form of power. It's a form of more energy. And when you have more money, it's going to allow you to unlock more decisions in your life. But if you haven't sculpted your energy to like be in touch with that, you're going to be overwhelmed with it. And then the riches are just going to turn to riches and not going to convert into wealth.
I love that you talk about just appreciating the humanity, and it reminds me of just compassion, like for your, instead of just, oh, I made a mistake, or, judging yourself or judging other people, even to just appreciate that, even mess back to gratitude, as Brent was talking about, like that we're all here, that like we have breath, we're hopefully healthy. We have many more years to do amazing stuff, and we can impact other people's lives in a positive way. Like there's so many things, you could beat yourself up over. Like if you just want to have a list, and I mean, anyone could do that. Like it's not really like a rational thing. Like maybe that's another interesting way to look at it too, or a technique or otherwise. Like you're beating yourself up over something, or you can't believe somebody did something to you, and you're having this very negative reaction. Otherwise, is it rational? Like, is it rational, and is it beneficial? Like who benefits from you having that reaction? Do you benefit? Does anyone else benefit? Maybe, maybe not. Like you can decide that though, but at least thinking about it and being aware you're having that, and just not, having that tangling up sensation of getting frustrated and anxiety and otherwise, like appreciating the humanity of yourself, like first, like if, that sort of thing, I think goes a long way. I want to talk about social media though, too, which is this funny double-edged sword of right now we are alive and engaging with people and online. Like I tweet multiple times per day. I know probably you all do too, in some form or fashion, maybe. But also like I like this Naval quote, notifications are just alarms that other people are setting for you. I don't have a lot of push. I don't have like a ringtone, stuff like that. I just have like vibrate a lot or silent. I miss a lot of phone calls. It's totally fine. I choose that. It's my trade-off. I don't get push notifications very often. Like it basically minimal, all that stuff, because I just don't want to be interrupted. And a lot of stuff isn't that important. And I want to minimize the amount of time I'm spending. However, part of my role, what I define as myself, I mean, I have no obligation, nobody's paying me or anything, but like what I want to do requires me to engage and tweet and make videos and clip and all this stuff all the time. So I feel myself like it's all every bit of pressure or every bit of, work or otherwise I tell myself I need to do that. Those little bits, I can feel that anxiety, or I can feel that, it's not even anxiety. I don't want to paint it in a negative light. It's like this, not pressure either. I don't know what the right word is for it. It's this energy that I need to focus on. I need to put forth, and I get tired, from it as well. So it's just
exactly how you feel.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know
we love what we're doing. It's like, you don't want to paint it negatively, but it is that what is that word?
It's like constantly being on is my experience with it.
Yes.
Maybe that's a good way to look at it too. Constantly being on, but also being on whatever that is. We'll say calling you're on, but then turning it off. It's kind of like, even though, at least for me, like I'll take a run. I have my day set up. I have a routine that I think is very healthy for me. Get a lot of exercise, mentally, physically, all that stuff. But even when I'm out for a run or whatever, I have an idea. Oh man, I need to like remind myself to do this because this is a really good thing. Oh, this is a really good tweet. I should tweet. I should talk about this later. I should do a show on this. And none of that's really a problem. But if I'm trying to avoid or minimize the amount of time I'm on social media, but also part of my whole deal is I engage on social media a lot. That's, I think, just so for example, me and some of you are in a similar situation for that too, being streaming or otherwise engaging a lot. But a lot of people watching, they're probably just, tuning in to watch people like us, or they get on Twitter and just check to see what's going on. So trying to have that separation is harder, I guess, when you're a streamer or influencer or whatever your role is. But also if you're just a person just hanging out in the community and just want good information or just want to be entertained or whatever it is you're in here for, that piece, how do you, I guess, reduce anxiety or have that separation and make yourself go outside more? Like how do you all deal with that in your particular roles? Whoever wants to go first.
I can take it, and I'll try to take it briefly. I just try to do what feels good at the time, as long as I don't have a specific deadline, especially involving another human where I've made a promise. So if I'm having that type of feeling, Max, that you were just kind of mentioning, like, man, I'm just like, I don't want to do this right now, then listen to that. Like Whitney was just talking about, like listening to your emotions and stuff and not letting them get the best of you and control you. They're real. You have to kind of pay attention to them and think, like, why are they there? Why are these emotions coming up? And so, yeah, if it's something where you've set goals and things like that, and you have certain metrics that you want to hit, activity on Twitter or live streaming or whatever, you might want to try and push through that to focus on that long-term goal that you've hit. But also, like, you need breaks. At every job that I've been at, I mean, I was in sales at multiple startups in Silicon Valley and went through acquisitions, was at big companies. I always tried to find my like walking partner, somebody who I could get out of the office with and just go on a 15-minute walk, breathe the fresh air. That resets me. And, just not just sitting at a chair. Fortunately, some of the jobs I was at towards the end of my career as a W-2 worker, we had like a sitting desk that was really great as well too. But just that's kind of the best way that I think about this myself, specifically for what that you were talking about. I just try to think about, like, hey, am I just being a little bitch here? Like, is there a big goal here that I need to keep pushing at? Or can I just take a little break on this and something to refresh? So I try to think about it in that way.
I personally, I was sharing a little bit about this online, and I've taken some time off over this past 2 weeks. Is I definitely hit like a big burnout. And I find that the biggest goal for people who are creating content and are leaders in some form is not getting to that burnout point or that overwhelm. And I was like, it's kind of like I would still go out into nature, I would do my things, but it was like I had pushed myself too far. And because what I've been doing these past few weeks is, like, personally for myself, like a lot of energy healing sessions of different practitioners and different people that can like tap into my energy and help me out in different ways. Yesterday I had some body work massages well done as well. But overall, like, and I say this as someone who's like still, I'm trying to get my feet back on the ground and my energy back on the ground. I've been doing some stuff with nutrition, but ultimately, like my friends that have been actually outside of crypto have been the best for me because they know human Whitney, and they're like, hey, we also have your like whole objectives in line, your like values, and we want you to enjoy life and enjoy this process because especially if we're in a space of leadership, like this stuff isn't going away. Like when the market goes up, we still want, I personally still want to be around here, and I want to have longevity to be able to be around here. And to do that, that means that I have to go back and like receive support from people or enjoy myself in the process, or else it's going to be a quick 1 year burnout and then never come back. So really for me, like my friends, human connection, going into social environments that are maybe new to me, that's been really healing for me as well, just because I get a lot of energy from people and different conversations. So really like the human experience for me has been the greatest gift.
Yeah, I just kind of agree with that. That's very similar to my experience. I'm it's funny because I know that I'm not balancing. In fact, I messaged Whitney about this not too long ago. It's definitely been getting better. And I similarly, I think around the same time, we both ended up at the beach, probably different beaches, but it was just really nice to remember that there is an outside world. And for me, it's a little difficult right now because I've just rerouted. Right. I've been in Austin, Texas the last 16 years, and I'm now finding myself back in Southern California, which is where I grew up and my family's here. But in terms of friends, a lot of my friends that lived here have either moved or we've grown apart, different things like that. So I'm in this a little bit of a limbo where I'm trying to reconnect and find out, okay, who it is that's in my area that I can actually go spend time with outside of this social media world. And it's almost, nearly ironic because in order to find that, sometimes I have to find out on social media who's in this area, what are they doing? It was one of the greatest things about, where I'm at in life and what, what I'm spending my time doing is that we just had the Southern California PulseChain Tour meetup. So I got to see a lot of people who live in this area. In fact, Crypto Vince and I just went and had breakfast the other day. So that was super great. And it's really lovely to know that there is family all over the place, right? Like I don't have a lot of friends, not a lot of close friends anyways, that aren't Mexicans at this point in my life. I've kind of moved from place to place, and I don't know, like for me, I guess maybe this is just my personality, but I'm the kind of person that like if we can pick up after like years of conversation, like I don't necessarily keep in touch with people if they're not in my space. Like if we're not in the immediate area, like I may not, reach out as much if I don't think that we're going to be able to hang out and like I'm actually going to be able to go see you. So again, it's just kind of being in that state of, okay, like who is it around me that, is of the same mindset, of the same mentality, and can be an uplifting force in my life. I think that's another thing that I've noticed and that I'm in transition of, is moving away from anyone in my life who was draining me, right? Or wanting, taking more energy than I felt, I could give. And I think that's an important thing too, is to make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are uplifting, people who are, going to have your best interest at heart, at their heart, as well as, you having their best interests in mind as well.
And it doesn't have to be tit for tat either. Just being around people who don't just take, but also give, trying to think the best way to say it. It's not, again, you don't need to get, for me, I don't need to get something from everyone, but if I feel like I'm only giving you stuff, then like, what's the point? Like that you're not helping me live a better life if I'm only giving you my time and energy and you're just asking me for stuff all the time. Like there's got to be some kind of that's not really like a relationship, right? It's kind of just you just giving someone, having people in your life who on the net, at least it's close. It doesn't have to be, you know, you give me something, I give you something, but at least it's close. At least there's a mutual, you know, enjoyment of such a relationship. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, it's just kind of just draining you. Like, I don't want to be drained. I'm okay giving you my energy, but I don't want to be drained either.
Max, I'll say I'm the parent of 2 young children, a 4-year-old boy, and my daughter just turned a year and a half. I have enough energy vampires with little kids, and they're incredible.
Yeah, kids are okay. Kids are okay on the draining part, but that's it. That's where I draw the line. Yeah.
They give me a lot of love and stuff back. But yeah, I completely agree. You don't want to be around a bunch of energy vampires. You also don't want to be like the smartest person in the room. You know, you want to grow. So I think you, at the very least, just want to be cognizant of these things and make sure that you're constantly thinking of them, auditing, like, what is serving me in this particular environment, this particular stage in my life? What kind of people do I want to be around physically, digitally, and both, you know, because so much of our lives is online, like we are right now. But I'm very happy in this virtual environment with you guys because it's a great conversation that we're all adding value to. So yeah, I just think that these are all great ideas for people who are watching this to just kind of think about. And one more thing I'll say real briefly, Max, I've said this probably on other live streams with you, particularly about sleep. Every night before I go to bed, almost every night before I go to bed, I will do this little mantra type thing in my own head with that really for me helps quell anxiety, and it helps me sleep better and then, you know, rejuvenate when I sleep and wake up feeling as close to the best version of myself in the morning after a good night's sleep, which is that you just basically try to recognize the mistakes that you made that day and then forgive yourself for them. That's the real key. That's how you can really minimize or eliminate that anxiety, because so much of this anxiety is stuff that we either haven't recognized at all. So that's why first, when I lay down to bed, think about the kind of perceived mistakes that I've made. And then I think about what could I have done better? And I say, okay, I could have done this instead. And then I think, okay, I'll forgive myself for that. And then I'll mentally tag this so that I hopefully make a better decision in the future. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about growth and progress. And so that particular exercise I've been doing since I was about 16 years old. And I'll be 39 next month. And I think it's a huge like life hack. So I hope I've articulated that appropriately. You can kind of find your own way to do it, but I think that really, really helps quell anxiety and depression and stuff like that, and just helps you get a good night's sleep too, which is, as everybody knows, very important.
I love that. I think that another so it's kind of reminds me of like affirmations, but even kind of before you go do something, like either sleep or when you wake up in the morning, it's kind of like an event-based affirmation. I guess I think I like that because there's one that, especially for, I guess, anxiety or especially if I'm like really busy or trying to like get stuff to, like, I'm working on a project and I'm like, oh, I keep running into these problems and I need to get through it or whatever. I think one that's been interesting for me in the past has been like every day is complete in and of itself. Like I don't owe anyone anything. I don't need to do anything else today. Whatever, there's nothing that needs to keep me up that can't wait until tomorrow. There's nothing. And I think that's helped me before, just, get to sleep faster, whatever, acceptance, just all kinds of different verticals of just relief or, quelling anxiety or whatever it may be that's going on at the time. So that's helped me before too. I'm sure I think that one's pretty common. I think in general, just the ability to I think you really hit it on the head, man. I think just all those types of phrases or mantras or things to just, in some way tell yourself you're fine. Everything's fine. You're fine. Maybe you made some mistakes today. Maybe you didn't, but like tomorrow's another day. There's always like another day. It's assuming you got plenty of life in front of you and all that. So yeah, I love that part. Go ahead, Benny.
I was just thinking of, because for me, the best way to process emotions is to like not feel like I'm alone. And so to have community and to have connections that can go this deep, where we're like talking about the human experience and have people who care about like my own human experience. And I've had this come up in conversations from a few other people in real life where they're like, well, how how do you get people, like if people are not talking about this stuff or like asking like things of like, how are you? Or getting to these deep levels, like how do you really start those conversations? And this is just, I just want to drop this in for anyone who wants to be able to take their relationships and connections deeper, is like you get to architect the conversations and the connection. So if you are craving to have someone ask you like, how are you feeling? Why don't you just ask them with like, how are you doing today? Because typically what people do is, especially when there's a question that's out of the blue, they'll be like, oh, they'll pause, they'll feel for themselves. And then sometimes if they're good enough, they'll flip the question back on you because they'll have that curiosity, like, how are you doing? Something simple, but I just want to bring that up if like people are like, I want to get to deeper levels of connections. And then my way is just like, well, just lead people to the level of depth of connection that you want to go with, or begin with vulnerability. And typically people like to meet you there.
Well, I wanted to ask about just on the social media topic too of, I talked about notifications and how I turn a lot of them off, and I try to, I miss a lot of phone calls, or I miss events and stuff like I just don't, I really try to scope down what I pay attention to, because for me, and for many of you all as well, I spend so much bursts of energy on social media that I want to avoid it as much in when I'm in my real life as much as possible, that sort of thing. Are there techniques that you all use? I mean, I did things where I'll go on a trip or whatever, and I'll literally leave my phone in the car. I'll like lock it in the car and then just go, for 24 hours or 36 hours or 72 or whatever it is, and just be away from it. And, I'll make appointments and I'm like, oh God, I actually got to look at a clock sometime. Like there's all these trade-offs with it. Of course, you don't have all the nice things you have with when you have a computer in your hand. But it's just it feels good. It feels good. And I feel much more, all the different things, more calm, and I have less to worry about. And the little bit of anxiety you have of, oh, what if I miss an important thing? What if, sometimes you have kids and otherwise, maybe there's certain people you need to pay attention to and be on call for, or whatever it is, family or friends and things going on. But in general, disconnecting. Yeah. You guys, what are some ways you all use to just disconnect that I think a lot of people out there maybe they know how to do it, but they just need to see examples of other people doing it before they really want to try it themselves and be like, oh, actually that might work for me.
I can go first and I'll keep it super brief. When it comes to your phone, a lot of people use their phone now as their like alarm clock for the morning. I'm very fortunate that I don't have to use an alarm clock in the morning. Normally my kids are that, but I actually last night slept for 9.5 hours straight. Neither of the kids woke up. It's the first time that's happened in months. I woke up this morning feeling like 5 years younger, like a superhuman. Then I hurt my back playing basketball at the gym. That's another story. So I felt good for about 2 hours. But in any event, so not having, if you can, or you can set an alarm on your phone at night to tell you to go to sleep. That way you can hopefully get full rest, so you're not waking up from an alarm clock. Because when you wake up from an alarm clock in the morning, you could be waking up right in the middle of a sleep cycle. In fact, most likely you are, and that totally screws up your hormones and just everything. So just waking up at the end of a sleep cycle is like really important. So that's probably on your phone, or it's some other thing that's waking you up. As for your phone goes, I would say take the time, go through all the notifications on your apps if you aren't already doing this, and just turn them off for the ones that aren't absolutely like essential, depending on, your life, your job, your family, whatever. Both of those things, you might have to keep some notifications on for practical purposes, safety purposes, business, whatever. But the ones that aren't absolutely crucial, which is probably social media, unless you're trying to be a content creator, social media influencer, just turn them off. You'll get to them when you get to them. Don't let these apps and these devices and these notifications rule your life, because that's not a great way to get things done. So I could go into more depth, but that's the high level. And I've been doing that for years, and tons of productive people that I know that are super successful basically follow those rules as well.
Well, what do you do without that though? Because that's become the addiction, right? The addiction of the dopamine hit. Oh, I'm bored. Let me go scroll Twitter, or let me go watch it. I mean, there's plenty of educational stuff on YouTube too. I'm guilty of it. Like when I go for a run, I got my headphones on, and I'm usually listening to some video because I'm trying to learn. So I'm like always trying to keep on the edge, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like that I'm bored. I need to do something. Here's a phone. How do you get away from that?
So real quick, I'll say, if you look at my phone right now, YouTube is the exception to it. It says like 4,192 notifications on my YouTube app. The reason for that specifically is because I like to have notifications turned on certain YouTube channels to support them, because I know as a YouTuber that actually helps the algorithm the most for their channel. And so I can't really turn that off, because if I turn that off within even the app, I think that doesn't stay on for their channel. So that's like the exception on that. But if you look at like all my other apps, they're like there's like no notifications on there. Like I'm trying to be in control and not have these things controlling me. Sorry, I didn't really. What was your more specific question, Max?
No, it was just, how do you get away from, I'm bored, let me pick up my phone?
I get like that. I get that a lot, and I'll just like watch YouTube. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't like to call it like I'm bored, because I like to look at it from like, I have so many options of things to do in life. And if I want to meditate, I can meditate. If I want to take a nap, I can take a nap, if I do have that particular freedom, depending on parenting responsibilities and stuff, because that's the most time consuming thing in my life right now. 5 years ago, it used to be completely different before I had kids. But
that piece, I think a lot of people, they don't, again, I'm making just speculation here, but I would think that a lot of people don't have a lot of other things they like to do other than this quick dopamine hit, or, if assuming they're not having a meal or going out to a movie or other things people enjoy. But in general, day to day, you got 24 hours, you're sleeping maybe 6 to 10 of them. And then the rest of it, you're like, you got a phone, maybe you got a job, you're being distracted in one way or another, but you're always trying to, or at least I'm, just again, speculating here. There's this pull. I felt it before and I try to resist it too, but this pull for, I need to go entertain myself, that sort of thing. And you kind of touched on it too. There are healthier entertainment stuff. I listen to a ton of YouTube every day, and it is learning from people and things like that. So yeah, maybe the healthy versus unhealthy content, maybe that plays into it.
I think that's a really important distinction, because it was in about 4 years ago. It was early 2020. I was working with some other YouTubers on our longevity channel. It's actually where we interviewed Richard Hart. I brought him in and we interviewed him. But one of my other colleagues on that channel, his name is Max Anderson. He's a big Chiefs fan, so he's probably watching the Super Bowl right now. But he'll probably watch this. So shout out to you, Max. Max was like, "Hey, Brent, have you ever heard of this guy, Mr. Beast?" And I was kind of like, no, who is this guy? And Mr. Beast probably had like 30 million subs at the time. But because the reason I'm telling this story real briefly is because I was an early adapter to YouTube, but I was watching like George Soros lectures on alchemy of finance in 2009 and stuff. This was before a lot of the conspiracy theories about George Soros. He was a very wealthy person. I was trying to learn from him. I was watching lectures of like Warren Buffett, money management, learning about physics and all this different. So I've used YouTube more as like infotainment, where I'm like always learning personal growth, Tony Robbins, other people, personal development, finance, things like that. So for me, when I am like bored, as a lot of people call it, and I turn on YouTube, I'm usually not firing it up like watching some mindless stuff. I'm usually like, it's all about like growth and infotainment at the least. So that's me personally, but I know that I'm also like pretty unique. So like, as far as there's not, I'm probably more in the 1%, unfortunately, of people who just like think like that, unfortunately. And I've tried to figure out why that is and how we can change it. And I have some ideas on that, but it's just, people are going to have to want to change is the short answer. So that's it for me.
I am a growth junkie. I think we all kind of are here. And I think there's a lot of us in the community as well. And over the past few years, I've had to get real with myself around how much information I'm consuming, and particularly why am I consuming certain informations. And so the theme that I was like trying to make down, I was like writing some lists. I was like, oh, this is a good question, because I've been like puzzling this question for myself as well. And like, I've been trying to build systems to help like automate the like creation process, so I don't have to spend as much time like behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, the thing that I keep coming back to has been my intention around like, why do I do what I do? And so I've had to ask myself, because like I'm on between Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook a little bit. Like, it's just each of my audiences, the messaging is a little different. I'm spread in different ways. And I have to ask myself, Whitney, why is your intention of coming onto this platform? Like, what are you creating? Who are you creating for? Why are you doing it for yourself? And then also, like, what do I want to consume when I'm going onto each of these things? Because especially now, like, we're in the information era, like there's an unlimited amount of information. And so I've had to just get real around like, why do I do what I do? Where do I want to put my energy? Because I can constantly be learning and growing, but sometimes the best place for me to learn is just to like open up my eyeballs and like see like the relationship dynamics that I'm having in my life, rather than just like tapping into the YouTube's world. So honestly, like, yeah, that's intention for me has been huge. Journal, pen, paper, or just being with myself in different ways.
Being deliberate. I like that so much. Like there's so many things, you know, I'll have some habit or otherwise. And looks like Brett was going to say he'd be right back. I'll have some habit or otherwise where, you know, it's either hard to understand or somebody say, oh, you know, if you just did this, you would, you know, be more in tune with this or whatever. And I'm like, I deliberately do not want to. I do not want to do. I want to focus as much as possible and get the most ROI from whatever I'm doing, and spend the least amount of energy, get the maximum amount of results, that sort of thing. So even RHMax. I don't want to look at other ecosystems. I want to look at this one. I want to excel in this one. I want to help this one. So I pigeonhole myself. I don't want any other thing. They're like, oh, terrible name. No, you know what my goal is. My goal is this. You know, I love the way Selmy talks about it. He's like, he says, hexologist is not going to be a polka dotologist. You don't do other things once you like, you know, put yourself in that position, and you embrace it, I think too. And same thing for me. So being deliberate with your actions, and knowing like what you want to get out of it, and then driving that as hard as you can, and hopefully not causing yourself too much anxiety. Or everything takes a little bit of anxiety. It's just how long does it occur for? How long are you willing for it to last? Like what kind of delayed gratification are you signing yourself up for? And what kind of tools do you have around you to help you deal with it and get through it, you know, as much as you can? Because I think there's something to be said for the journey too. It's like, yeah, you have a goal, you have a place you want to be, you know, but also the journey along the way. I want to keep my integrity, for example. I'm very principle based. And I talked about this the other day on Twitter. I had a tweet where I laid out a lot of stuff I believe in, and the reason I don't do a lot of things and that other people may enjoy or do or be tempted by or otherwise. And that helps me keep my integrity, and to each their own, but that's what's very important to me. So the journey, like once, if and when glory comes, we all get rich, you know, Richard becomes the greatest man in the world, all that stuff, Hexagons take over, all that. That's going to be great. But at the end of it, I want to be like, okay, cool. I feel proud of the journey that I had along the way. And that's very important to me. It really didn't have much to do with anxiety, but I wanted to say it.
Well, that was super personally fitting. I actually just wrote a post that I shared on Instagram today about how the joy is in the journey. And like for myself, when I took my 3 days solo to the beach, and I rode horses on the beach, first time riding a horse. And it was like a super special moment where I was able to just look back and be like, wow, I was like, Whitney, you're here in this moment right now. And like, you're feeling a lot. And also your life is so beautiful. Look at how far you've come and what you've built. And it was reminding myself that like in the future, in the next year, 2 years, all the things that I built, I'm going to look back at that moment of me being on the horse and even feeling all of the highs and the lows in that moment, wishing that I could go back to that moment. And like the best part is the journey. So it's not through the anxieties and everything, like you're going to look back and be like, oh, I wish I could get that moment back. Because there's something so fun about building and not knowing where we're going to go or how it's going to happen.
Whitney, I'm curious, are you in Southern California also?
No, I'm in Austin. And so I went down to Corpus Christi.
I just left.
Okay, yeah.
So sad. When you and I had just connected, and I was like, I'm moving by.
I'll see you again in Vegas for a little bit.
Yeah. Vegas.
Yay. Speaking of hopefully anxiety-less times, hopefully Vegas will be a very fun adventure. I'll be there as well. Britt, you joining, man? You coming?
No plans at the moment. Sorry. I'm actually.
So you're telling me no chance.
Peer pressure.
This isn't
no
really
anxiety. No stress.
this isn't really a plug. It's just more of a life update. So I'm working on a new startup. I'm a co-founder, and it's pretty demanding. So yeah, I mean, I could travel, but it's already demanding enough with what my wife's dealing with now, watching both the kids. So we're trying to rip the Band-Aid a little bit slower. So no travel for me, probably, unless it's like absolutely necessary business travel.
Well, I think there'll be plenty of events coming up, and maybe even in your part of town sometime as well. You never know.
Yeah.
I think California is definitely a big place, and hopefully, and I don't know how many hexagons are down there. I feel like there's quite a few I've heard of online and otherwise. So yeah, and longevity stuff as well. I'd love to. I've yet to go to a longevity conference, and man, if Aubrey comes anywhere close to me in the States, I would go out of my way to go to that. Or him. I like him a lot too, but even otherwise, I would be interested.
Yeah, there's tons of longevity conferences and lots of different activities and stuff in the San Francisco Bay Area. But I'm a couple hours east of that, so if it's something compelling enough, I might travel to the Bay Area for it.
So, everyone, great panel day. Hopefully, everyone out there watching has got some value out of this as well. Super fun for me, just having these conversations too, and just talking about the important. Like again, I've did so many streams on, and I love talking just purely crypto. Let's look at the charts. Let's look at like what are all the amazing things happening right now. Like, oh my God, this thing happened. Oh, the bridge, no fiends. What's going on? I love that too. But also, like at the end of the day, we're humans, and we have to deal with human stuff. And I think if we're able to deal with it together and share, and collaborate and just talk about our own experiences and ideals and stuff too, I think that's can only help us become better humans. Like, become the best version of yourself type of stuff. But everyone, really appreciate you all being here. Whitney, do you want to we'll start with Whitney, just go from top to bottom here. Final words, what do you want to leave us on as far as anxiety, crypto, anything positive or otherwise going on in your life, or how do you want to take us out?
I think I said everything related to anxiety and feelings. We're just human, just like you said. Exciting things in my world. I'm really excited. I'm launching a 4-week beginner crypto program. So I'm speaking more about investing in crypto through the lens of energy for newbies. I'm super excited about this. My big plug for people here is I'm getting my YouTube started back up again. Go check me out, Whitney Magic. I'm dropping just about daily videos there.
Awesome. Brent?
I guess the final thing I'll just say is I've talked about this for years. I think we've talked about this on other live streams, but I didn't exactly articulate it this way, is audit your own thoughts. I think it's a good, we talked about it. I brought it up a little bit on the meditation live stream, so you could see me probably go into more depth if you want to reference that one here on your channel. So just search up the meditation one. But basically, like auditing your own thoughts is kind of the form of meditation that I've been doing for the last few years, where I just think about I just close my eyes, think about what's going right in my life, what's going wrong in my life, and how did I participate in both of those things. So I can just kind of try to be more conscious, recognize what I did to do things that are going right and do more of that. How can I do more of that? And then things that might not be going as well as I think, how am I contributing to that? And how can I change that? So just really trying to do that. There's really no, you can't really overdo it the more that you're thinking about things in life. But some people just are going through life and they're not even thinking about this stuff at all. So I'm just trying to give people the tools to do it. Maybe you could do it 10 minutes a day. Maybe you could do it 2 hours a day for a while until you get things on track. But I think in general, that's the very high level of how you can just be thinking about things. And that should also help potentially quell anxiety as well too.
Last but certainly not least, a wild SJ.
One thing that just popped in my mind, and this it's kind of also, goes hand in hand with what I do and what I'm involved with, is remember that you're never alone in this. If you're feeling that stress, you're feeling that anxiety, whatever those feelings are that you're feeling, you are not the only person, surely, that has ever felt that way. And I believe, honestly, that there are more people than you realize or you think that would be willing to lend an ear or allow, a DM right? For you to just, if you need to express yourself, if you just have, you need someone to listen to, verify, or what's the right word I'm looking for?
Validate.
Validate. Thank you. Yeah. Just to validate, like, yes, like it's okay to feel that way. Know that there are many of us out there who have been there, are there, might be there at some point in the future. And that's a lot of the reason why I love being part of the PulseChain tour and going around to real in-person meetups, because the sentiment and the feeling of being online and being behind our screens and being behind messages and social media systems and all these things, it's such a different world when you're face to face with someone and you get to hug, you get to shake hands, you get to, see a smile in, the real like 3D world, 4D, what kind of world we live in? But it's important to just keep that in mind, right? You're never alone in what you're feeling. And if you're so anxiety ridden that you're just getting stuck and you're spinning, reach out to someone else. You never know. I mean, like my DMs are open. I'm not going to be able to message everyone all the time, but I know that there are a lot of other people out there who want to be able to tell you, yes, like I've been there, I know how you feel, I know what you're going through, and there are ways to work through that and to take action. And that's one of the greatest things that I love about Richard Hart and his book Scivive, and why we're such Scivivers here, because it's about the action. It's about having that thought and moving forward and taking an action to get yourself to the next place.
I'm glad I'm not the only one alone in this cult. I got big community. Yeah, not just the Scivive cult, but the Hexagon cult. We're a bunch of people who are loyal to a brand. What do you think about that? We actually like true DeFi and making money and being a better version of ourselves and being a force for good. And
we care.
I know it's weird, really weird. We really care, and then that's it's very strange, but very good.
It's strange that it's strange, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone check out Whitney's content. You said you're making some new content on YouTube or socials? Yeah.
What's
Awesome.
is it YouTube.com/Whitney Magic?
It should be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the link in the description as well for Whitney, her channel. I've tagged her channel. Brent's as well. Brent's has did stream with Richard and stuff before too. 10 on longevity stuff. Every time we have Brent on, we only scratch the surface of what his expertise is, or what he's rabbit holed on, or the value he can provide. So one day, I don't know, we're gonna have to do a lot of streams to get to it, but one day where he's gonna be like, I don't know anymore. You ask me all the questions. I just don't know anymore. I don't know.
SJ was talking about dimensions. The fourth dimension is time, and then the string theorists, physicists say that there's like 11 dimensions, but we don't actually know. I'm just a really curious person, have been for a long time, and there's a lot of stuff out there, and so I've read a lot of books, I've watched a lot of documentaries. But the funny thing is, I probably only stored about 10% of that information. So all the crazy things that I know, just keep in mind, I probably already forgot like 90% of it. So I've just taken in a lot of crazy information over the years because I'm a very curious person. So the last thing I'd say is everybody just stay curious out there, enjoy life. And, to be curious means that you first have to admit that you're ignorant, and that's somewhat vulnerable to some people. So a lot of people think that I'm just not going to waste time learning more stuff because we already know almost everything. But what I believe is that we humans know very, very little about reality, very, very little. And we know a little bit more than we did last year. And that pace seems to be accelerating because of technology. So I think what Elon says is that the future is going to be weirder than you think is almost certainly true. The new Apple Pro Vision just came out, and I've been seeing people using them, walking around in public wearing them. I remember in 2013, the Google glasses things. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was about 10 years ago. I was living in the Bay Area at the time, and people were in Palo Alto wearing them, nerds, and they would get kicked out of like restaurants for wearing them and stuff. So in any event, I just went on a weird little tangent when we were closing down.
Stop recording me.
Yeah,
I remember all that stuff with Google Glasses. Even though I'm pretty sure it had a recording light on it. I don't know why people are freaking out over that.
Yeah, and that was 10 years ago. So we just weren't ready for that stuff yet.
Now it's just a chip. We're gonna all get in our heads, right? It's gonna be a boop. Hey, I can see the universe now.
The first Neuralink implant apparently happened in a human, I think 3 or 4 days ago. So
Wow.
That's crazy.
there's weirder than you think.
Yeah.
Amazing. Everyone, that's all we got for you again. Link in the description for Whitney, Brent, and a Wild SJ doing a lot of awesome work out there. Love this community. Love what all you're doing, and appreciate y'all joining me today to have this conversation. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, same. Thanks for hosting.
Thank you so much. Loved it.
And, all right, everyone who just got here, #replay gang, Scivive and 5555. We are out.